Today is Self-Injury Awareness Day, which my daughter told me, so I'm wearing orange today. You know, as people that watch my channel may remember, I got into looking into personality disorders. The borderline personality disorder is a self-injury disorder. I ended up reading and learning, I thought, a lot about that I hadn't gotten before. Whereas I had personal experiences with people going through these kinds of urges and problems, and friends and relatives of friends and relatives. But I never really thought I got even a good handle on what was behind that. I think the personality disorder explanation, not that that doesn't explain all of it, but it explains a big, strangely inexplicable case. So yeah, but this video is about you know, the whole metaphysics thing. I don't really see what people have to disagree vehemently about, or for example, what people could be saying, what people could think that I'm like fleeing from and whatnot, because to me it's entirely taking step forwards. If you have an idea that sounds like, yeah, there might be something over there, then I'll go over there with my flashlight with you. That is what I've been doing. That is what I will continue to do. You know, basically summarizing my position from the big picture, I have said we can study will physically. That goes into tangents about what metaphysics is and stuff, but if that's semantics, that's fine. I'm not one of these people. I've made videos before about this, that I believe semantics is the hard work of philosophy, emotionally at least. And if you can't do that, you really don't have what it takes. I mean, you have to do that to try to say, well, we won't do the semantics so we can get to the fun part. You won't be talking the same language. That's like a Frenchman and an Englishman saying, we won't find a language we both understand. We'll just talk to each other in our own language. And how? That's what that's like. So I basically think it's a matter for us to put on the table our guesses, because it's fun. About if we think, for example, there'll be an element of choice that we might call legitimate, or whether it'll be an answer which we won't know whether it's really choice or not, or you know, where in the spectrum of conceivable possibilities we think it might lie, or if we think it'll lie outside our currently conceivable things. I think growing organs in the brain is philosophically, conceptually on the table. So let's say space was 7-dimensional, and we can't do that. We just don't have the organs to visualize that. You can imagine philosophically that, you know, over millions of years somebody might be able, some species might be able to evolve them. You know, and not just evolution, but technology, of course, to augment what you can do sort of from birth. So still, we're gonna die, I think, without knowing about whether the choice is legit. So it's just a part of it, but there's an element of that's done for fun. I think we might have a chance to find out why the first person experience happens. I don't see it as very credibly deniable that we have that experience, or people saying, if somebody says, I don't really know what you mean by that experience, I just go, well, you're not very introspective, because you're having this experience all the time, and if you don't know what I mean, then you haven't really left solipsism. You haven't really conceived that rich world, wholly separate, orthogonal rich world, is going on in other people's minds. And everybody, all adults that talk about this stuff will admit that happens. Oh fuck, what's my volume? Looks like it's screwed up loud. Well, sorry, I'm going to change the volume just in case if it's getting rid of static, but now that's going to be too low. How about that? This looks good. Hello, oh shit. Hello. Okay, sorry. Quick upload. Oh shoot, where was I? Anyway, we have to admit that there is this experience, and that will be interesting to explain, you know, among people that think explanations are interesting in the first place. So, and that's something that we could even argue about whether it's discoverable, but I think that it is for me, in the sense that I can imagine, for example, if we made some sort of computer or device, I should say, that behaved as if it were conscious. In other words, it's a sort of a Turing test. If it's going to behave like a single-celled organism, now that would be interesting. Now, if we do it with computationally, I think we understand how computationalism works, and so we can also imagine if that's good enough for proving the internal experience. But if we, for example, abstract something that goes on in our brain and do it in a device and it seems conscious, then that's more of a chance that it's the reason we're conscious than something that just merely behaves. Right? So, I mean, I could imagine them doing something like this where, see, the way I see it is you can do a lot of the behavior, a lot of the ideas can be generated using neural networks, tuned genetic algorithms, and because that's all a genetic algorithm really is it's a tunable thing, and some case-based reasoning that can generate good ideas. If you had a fourth component that was able to select between the ideas suggested that way, I could understand that a quantum computer is able to explore that possibility space of the predictable results of all the suggested, suggested trains of thought or suggested behaviors, and it can, in a finite time, it can search that tree of predictable behaviors, whereas a traditional computer can't. It's gonna have to exhaust all of these possibilities in a much, taking more real time. So I could see how, something like that could behave, and if we proved it was using the same kind of thing we proved in the brain, then that would tell us something, a hint about where our consciousness comes from. On the other hand, if we just make a quantum computer that does it, I feel the same way as computationally. I still don't have a reason until I prove that same physical phenomenon is going on in us, that explains us. And even if it has an internal experience, and that doesn't mean there's not more than one way to generate those. I'm curious how mine's generated. A big part of my philosophy since I was a little kid was, I watched this show when I was a kid, The Greatest American Hero, and it was like he got this superhero suit, but he lost the manual. So it was a comic thing of him trying to figure out how to use superpowers, to even know which ones he had, and then to know how to make them happen, and how to control the suit. And I think this influenced me because I thought around 13, 14 that this is the situation we're in with the brain. I mean, here you have a thing that it looks like, some people can factor primes in their head and do multiplications of 5-digit numbers instantly, and these are like mental superpowers, or for example, if you believe in, and there's something to photographic memory, these are like superpowers, and the only reason I couldn't do them is I just didn't know how to use this. Obviously, this device is similar enough that it can do that. Then the question is, we need, a user's manual for the mind. And that's what philosophy is to me. This worldview is really a way of thinking. It's a program for thinking about the world, which means literally, if you look at how our body works and you believe in embodied mind, it means it is a program for taking in information, percepts, and doing something with them. And all the preconditions that are required to start something like that are explained evolutionarily. And the missing part there is that why would it come from just a chemical or a protein? Why would it go in this direction? And that is related somehow to the question of will versus luck. So yeah, I mean, to me, if you disagree with me, then you're saying we shouldn't do this exploration, which would be, why are you talking to me? Because if you talk to me, we're doing this exploration, I'm going to drag you along the exploration. I just disclosed that right now. And if you do think that it can be had, but you have different guesses, then what I hope from you is that you say, yeah, this thing can be had. I agree. We're at a point we can have this part of the conversation. It's different from what you said, or it's the same, or it overlaps, or whatever. And then you put your guesses on the table for what the next stage would be. But don't forget, we're still at the first stage. We're still saying, yeah, let's ask this, because yeah, they've asked these questions in metaphysics departments where metaphysics doesn't matter. And they need to ask it all over in embodied mind, empirical style philosophy. Who is it, Lily?